This Russian tank was lucky enough to escape the Leopard's fire and even leave the battlefield, but its escape was halted by a well-hidden mine. The Russians hoped to carry out this assault quickly, and it indeed ended quickly, but not in their favor. They started losing equipment even before reaching the settlement. First, the convoy came under a drone attack, and later it was shelled by artillery. Despite the losses, the Russians continued their advance, but the closer they got to the village, the fiercer the resistance became. A few units of armored vehicles tried to bypass from another side, but got stuck near the lake and instantly paid the price for it. But even the Russians who managed to enter the village didn't have much luck. They found themselves in an unfavorable position and were attacked from almost all sides. Quick and reckless decisions often lead to such failures, and this time they experienced firsthand why it was a mistake to advance on these Ukrainian positions. The rest of the column couldn't even get close enough to begin the assault. As soon as it became clear that the mission had failed, the Russians abandoned their equipment and began retreating. During this assault, the Russians overestimated their strength. As soon as the convoy of vehicles approached within striking distance, the Ukrainians launched an attack, using every weapon in their arsenal. Just a single Ukrainian Leopard tank was able to destroy almost the entire Russian convoy. And even when the remnants of the equipment entered the village, they continued to pursue them and fire. And for the few APCs that managed to break through the fire, Ukrainian soldiers are waiting, ready to greet them on their land with javelins and drones. And without equipment and reinforcements, they can no longer hide. Operators of FPV drones and drone with explosives began a relentless hunt, giving the enemy no time to regroup or react. If luck is on their side, the target will be destroyed with a single strike, and then the flames will finish the job. A tank can move quite fast, but a drone is faster. If it fails to hit the tank with explosives, there's a high chance an FPV drone will catch up with it. The tank operator begins rotating the turret, searching for the source of the strike, but the one responsible is well out of reach. And while he searches for the enemy, Ukrainian soldiers are already preparing to launch the next batch of birds to take vengeance on those who came uninvited onto their land. 2 tanks have been destroyed, and the others are next in line. The Russians attempt to scatter in different directions to avoid fire, but an accurate javelin strike quickly finds its mark, taking out another armored vehicle. A few more enemy tanks try to return fire through the thick smoke, but they are immediately hit by a massive drone strike. At first, the Ukrainians suppressed the assault by dropping explosives one by one, and as soon as the right moment came, they struck with anti-tank missile systems. After the Russians panicked and abandoned the tank, it was only a matter of calmly finishing it off. Some of the Russians thought that their convoy was lucky to avoid the bombardment because they had chosen a different route for the attack. However, their joy was short-lived. This APC ran straight into an anti-tank mine and immediately came to a halt, allowing the crew to abandon the damaged vehicle. Immediately after that, another APC fell into the same trap. A path that initially seemed safe turned out to be a hidden threat. Three units of Russian military equipment never made it to the Ukrainian positions and were destroyed without a single shot fired. Minefields are a highly effective means of defense, widely used since the First World War. In the chaos of war, if you don't know the layout of the minefields, you can lose a significant portion of your advancing army without even reaching the battlefield. For example, the armor of this Russian tank withstood a direct hit from a javelin, and it continued moving forward. Perhaps if it had stayed on the road, it might have survived, but it chose a different path. The mine explosion disabled the tank, but the crew managed to escape and the Russians quickly fled, abandoning the vehicle on the battlefield. Mines are one of the most powerful means of destroying armored vehicles and tanks. Once the target can no longer move, it is relatively easy to finish it off using drones or other means of destruction. Military analysts estimate that during World War II, about 15 to 20% of tank losses on the Eastern Front were caused by mines. And in modern warfare, we increasingly see mines being combined with drones. What the first didn't destroy, the second will finish off. Perhaps this is exactly what happened to this tank. When it was spotted by the Ukrainian reconnaissance drone, it was already damaged and smoke was coming from it. But it didn't remain intact for long. Within a few minutes, it was destroyed by a cluster munition. Notice how high its turret was thrown into the air.